So good afternoon. Happy New Year. Happy New Decade. I should say Happy New Decade first because it's 2020, 2K20. It's hard to imagine that 20 years ago we were afraid about Y2K and all the disasters that never happened. We're fortunate that it never did happen and weren't going to happen. So 2020 is different, right? Now the phrase and the watchword, the pro word you're seeing about 2020 is 20/20. The idea that this is the year you get perfect vision for who you want to be and what you want to do next. All that's important and it's critical. Today I want to go over one of the several exercises I do to start off a new year. And as you know, I don't believe in resolutions. I believe more so in resolve. And it's the idea that you create the environment, the thoughts, and the emotions to get yourself started for the new year. Not put a pin at the end of the board and hope you make it to the end of the board and not focus on what's in the middle, what's in the way, what's in the path. So one exercise I came up with, I didn't come up with it, actually Chris Brogan came up with it, not taking credit. This exercise is the idea of the my three words. If you're a sailor, like I used to be, we're used to having cardinal directions, cardinal markers, right? The four cardinal directions, northeast, west, and south. And I like this exercise because when you hear four, it kind of circles the square, it circles what the compass is for you. It's a great way to wayfind. But when you hear three, it's a little off-putting, it's a little offsetting. Except in a religious sense, in a Christian sense, there are the Holy Trinity. There are three. The idea is to have a mantra, a set of pro words, a set of procedure words or watch words that encapsulate that feeling, that emotion, that experience of what the year is going to be. So Chris Brogan has been doing this since 2006. The three words we're going to go over really quickly, why they're important to me, how I'm going to incorporate them, and then we're going to get started. So the first one's Meteor, right? And if you know me, you know I'm a geek. There's geek stuff everywhere. I've got a Spider-Man hat in the back. All the stuff. The computer right now is sitting on a Star Wars limited edition Book of Sith pyramid. The movie's garbage, but we'll talk about that today. But the idea of Meteor is every game you play, every role-playing game you play has a Meteor spell, has this thing that comes out of the sky. If you remember Armageddon, that's, wow, a long time ago. Armageddon was the whole idea that we would go and blow up a meteor from stopping the Earth from getting hit. Deep Impact, the Morgan Freeman version, which came out about the same time because the studios were in conflict. Meteor is this idea that there are these celestial bodies. For a sense, you could think to a sense that the Earth itself is a meteor. It is a rock spinning around a fixed orbit through space at X thousand miles an hour. I should know my science, right? The meteors have rises and they have falls. Meteors, when they get to their final velocity, it takes a lot of time. It takes days, months, years to get to that speed to go hurtling through the universe. So to me, Meteor is a very important thing because it's this idea of what does it take for me to get the speed? What does it take for you to get the speed? And what do you do once you're at speed? Once you're at a plane, once you're at whatever your maneuvering speed or velocity is going to be. So Meteor is important because I'm not saying I'm a heavenly body. I'm not saying that at all. The idea that there are these objects that hurtle around, they go through space, they make amazing things, they create amazing displays in the night sky. And I think in a lot of times in cities where we see more nightlight than skylight, it's easy to forget what the universe looks like around us. So Meteor is incite a sense of awe and wonder. And there's really a sense of awe and wonder we should have about the fact that we're alive every day. Meteor, clarity. Clarity is a modern man's currency. That's from Stephen Lariz. I hope I said his name right. Clarity, when I talk about currencies, a lot of currencies, right? It's not just money or the three reasons of money. There's also time. So can you do something to invest for more time in the future? There is mobility, there is energy, and there is income. So clarity in itself is a currency today because there's so much that is around us to avoid clarity, to pull us away from being clear about what we want to do and who we want to be. And it's not just, we're talking about the environment. A friend of mine, the environment enables effects. The environment doesn't cause those effects. You cause those effects, right? But it's what you put in the environment. It's the idea of, do you bring soda home or do you bring stevia flavored soda, which is garbage, by the way, because it's really too sweet for my taste in particular. Do you bring alcohol home? If you think, for example, one of the reasons the 12-step program works for a lot of people is that it creates clarity about the steps you're supposed to go through, the process you're supposed to go through, the forgiveness you need to seek in others, the forgiveness you need to seek in yourself, and it reinforces the community that's around you to progress along those steps in that direction if you are in AA. There is a book on my desk that's another story. So I'll use another book as an example for clarity. Jack Dempsey's Championship Fighting. You don't find a lot of boxing textbooks, right? But Dempsey makes clear how he boxed for his time, which isn't necessarily the same for how people box today. It's a more different sport. Even the weight classes prescribe different offensive, defensive tactics, right? So clarity, it's a currency, it's a value, it's an exchange. And what we can do, what I can do to enforce clarity, using this definitely less as an example of that, is powerful for the next year. And then finally, number 3 is Forge. And Forge, we know the story of Genesis. We know the story of the tree of knowledge, the tree of life. We know how original man, if you believe the story, ate the apple. But this origin story comes in a lot of ways. In Prometheus, in the Titan sense, Prometheus gave humanity fire. But the fire itself is not what's important, right? It's the ability to make that fire do something, create something, transmute something, transform something. That's what's important. A lot of what we're doing in life is forging or reinforcing who we are or who we think we need to be. The challenge, the hard part is to go back into that forge. If you think about the first Avengers Infinity War, the whole idea was you get Peter Dinklage's character to go reforge Stormbringer to stop Thanos, right? I know, it's another geek example. I love him, they're great. Forge isn't about the fire, it's about controlling the fire, controlling the sense of heat, and creating something from that. The forge is what really transformed man and gave man the harnessing of the godlike ability, not necessarily the fire. And that's where Genesis is different than the story of Prometheus. That and the fact that the serpent was genuinely evil. Whereas Prometheus genuinely looked out for what he thought were the best interests of humanity in that story, in that parable for that time. So Meteor, clarity, forge. Those are my 3 watchwords for 2020. Those are my 3 pro words, procedure words that I'm going to keep in back of my mind for 2020. I did partner this with the book Todd Herman's Alter Ego Effect. But that gets a lot deeper. It's a lot more personal. And we'll get into that here. The idea of having a cardinal marker, the cardinal directions from this exercise to inspire a new year, a way of doing things differently, and a way to remind yourself in those moments of impact that you want to show up differently. To me, that seems very important. And that's why I like that example.